Hey, I said at the end of last week's show that I would put out a video explaining some things about firearms in a Las Vegas shooting and how things work. And then I completely forgot to do that, so I'm going to make this now and release it probably right along with Monday's show. Luckily, when I forgot to make a video, CNN did. So we're going to start with that. Here we go.
A semi-automatic rifle to fire rapidly, just like a fully automatic weapon. The bump stock is attached to the receiver of the rifle, replacing the standard stock that fits against the shooter's shoulder. The stock then uses that recoil effect to bounce the rifle off the shoulder and essentially bump, that's where the term comes from, the trigger, back into the trigger finger, thereby allowing the shooter to fire the weapon repeatedly without having to release the trigger.
That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Okay, let's go over a couple of things here. This is a suppressor. This is an M203 underbarrel grenade launcher. This appears to be a Trijicon ACOG. This is one of them 30-round magazine clippy automatic or just a standard capacity magazine. This is a pistol grip. And this is not a bump stock. This is a telescoping buttstock. It's pretty standard fare on any of the AR platforms. The one thing that you didn't include in this video was a bump stock, you morons! For that matter, if a bump stock worked the way that you said that it does in this video, the ATF would have said it was illegal. Specifically, that kind of automatic return-off recoil that requires no intervention from the user is why bump stocks work the way that they do. So this is how bump stocks actually work. The recoil spring housing fits into the sliding stock. You pull forward on the front of the weapon, the recoil pushes it back into the stock, you're pulling forward on the front of the weapon. That little thing there that covers up the trigger means that your finger hits the trigger as fast as humanly possible, or really faster than humanly possible, generally speaking, and it sort of imitates automatic fire. But, as every single video on YouTube will tell you for self-defense, these things are a really bad idea. They're not accurate, they're not really very good for doing anything, which might explain, as bad as Las Vegas was, why it wasn't a lot worse. Now, with that said, there's one other thing that I really wanted to cover here, because I keep hearing that this was a really long way to shoot. Well, before we get into how far this was and how good of a shot you needed to be, I think there are a couple of definitions that we need to lay out here. First one, point target, which is to say you are shooting at something that is human-sized, the size of one person at X distance. Area target, you are shooting at more than one person, really. I know it's generally spoken of as 3 or more people, but regardless, when we're talking about 23,000, we're in the area target range. So, with that said, I think it's important to check what it is that the range for the M16, which is the very much close enough equivalent for the sake of this discussion, maximum range for point and area targets are according to the U.S. military. Now, according to the U.S. Army, the M4/M16 can shoot 450 yards at point targets. According to the U.S. Marine Corps, that's 500 yards. Either way, it's 800 yards for an area target. So no matter how you slice it, we're in range. Now, what's the reason for this? It has a lot to do with spread pattern of bullets, which is not something we're going to go into today, but just understand that the further away a bullet goes, the less accurate it is, so you need a bigger target. Now, that said, how far was he shooting? According to the New York Times, who actually did some math and kindly gave us this little graphic here, he was shooting 1,360 feet. Well, what is that in yards? 453.33. Now, that's basically within point target range according to both the Army and the Marine Corps. So this is well within the capability of the weapon. Now, I know some of you are probably sitting there thinking to yourself, yeah, Don, but Marines and soldiers, they're out there, they're well-trained shots. Well, there's a reason that I gave you both point and area target and gave you the sizes of each of them. 3 people is a lot smaller than 23,000. The amount of training required here was basically none. I don't want to make light of this, but for what we're talking about here, this is effectively shooting fish in a barrel. As sad as that is, it is true. So there is no necessity that he was a Navy SEAL sniper or any of these other kind of bullshit things that are going on around the world. I hope this has cleared up some of the basic misconceptions about what's going on with the Las Vegas shooting. I understand that this is not very in-depth, it's not informative to anyone who's really gun-loving or spent a lot of time with it. I understand that I also rounded a couple of numbers for the sake of ease, but in the world of basic information that people need to know so they stop believing lies, I think this video covers a lot of it, not to mention it's always worth mocking CNN. That said, hopefully this leaves you a little bit more informed if you knew nothing about the situation, and, well, try and have a good day.